Hello everybody, Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics CC. In this video I'm going to show you exactly the method that I used to gain 40 pounds of muscle while consuming less than 1,000 calories per day. Sounds impossible, doesn't it? As we're all told that you need to be in a caloric surplus in order to gain muscle. While this can be true, it is not entirely true. There are a couple instances where you can gain muscle while still in a caloric deficit. So, another purpose of this video is to show you that even if your circumstances are not ideal for your fitness goals, does not mean that you should not still try to pursue those fitness goals. I fell into that trap for a long time, thinking, and waiting, because why I started it all is I was very involved in sports and athletics all throughout junior high, until junior year of high school. Then I got some very severe digestive issues, which plagued me for about 10 years. And during that time, that's how I actually got into the study of nutrition, into bodybuilding, exercise science, things like that, trying to figure out how to fix myself so I could get back to doing the things that I loved. The mistake I made was that instead of just trying to exercise and trying to work out, I was trying to wait until I felt good again. I mean, now granted, I did feel nauseous when I'd try to work out. I had a lot of different issues going on and stuff, so it was very uncomfortable for me to work out, above and beyond the normal discomfort that you get from training hard in the gym. So, the tipping point was after I was on the verge of losing a third job in a row, and I decided that I needed to make a big change. So, at that time, I was eating about 3,000 calories per day on my bodybuilding diet plan. I had it split into about 5 to 6 meals per day. I was eating about 40% carbs, 40% protein, or 40% carbs, 30% protein, and about 30% fat at the time. And I was able to gain about 40 pounds of muscle from a 145-pound skinny guy who lost a bunch of weight because of his digestive issues up to 185 pounds with about 10% body fat. Problem was that I still suffered from brain fog, and I later learned that a lot of this was due to gut bugs and things like that, which were wreaking havoc in my digestive system. So at the time, I got essentially demoted in this third job to the lowest position that I could be in. I was doing all the grunt work, a lot of manual labor. I'd walk about 13 miles every day. I was a little bit disappointed because I borrowed my sister's pedometer to see how far I walked, and I figured I got to be walking at least a marathon every day, but the pedometer showed that I was only walking about 13 miles every day while lifting and pushing heavy objects during the entire time at about 5-minute intervals. So when I started this job, there was no way that I was going to be able to fit all these meals in without feeling like puking. And on top of that, it was really busy, so sometimes I wouldn't be able to eat for 5 hours into my shift, So I had to figure out a different plan because I was eating about every 3 hours up until then. So I met a chiropractor, and the chiropractor was talking about adding more healthy fats in your diet. And I felt like, fat was bad, and fat is going to make you fat, and you don't want to have a lot of fat in your diet, so it was high protein, moderate carbs, no sugar, vegetables, things like that. Not a particularly bad diet, but you're going to run out of fuel real fast if you're doing all that labor and stuff, and not to mention you're going to feel really sick. So I knew from my study of bodybuilding and things like that when a bodybuilder cuts down for a show, they typically start by cutting first the carbohydrates from their calories from some of their meals to get in that caloric deficit. Because you don't want to cut your protein, because that's what it's going to maintain what is called a positive nitrogen balance to enable your body to retain more protein and not eat its own muscles for fuel while you're in this starvation state. So I figured, well, I'm not able to eat the amount of calories that I need to eat and stuff, but at least I'm going to try not to lose the muscle that I have. So what I did is I would just wait until I was hungry enough to eat just straight up protein, nothing else, and that, not when I got hungry, because that's usually when the carbs have been burned through, but you go through this stage of feeling like kind of depressed when your carbs are going down low, and then all of a sudden you have lots of energy, and then all of a sudden you just run out of gas. So you wouldn't feel like the sugar blues or anything like that. You'd just be completely clear of the head, but you'd have no physical energy because you completely burnt off all of your energy from the food that you'd eaten. So I adopted this plan, and I also added more vegetables into the diet. So I had, usually I have like a cup, maybe two, of some vegetables like broccoli or salad or spinach or things like that. I try to mix it up, and then I would have my protein. And I was before I did the cut, adopted this new method of training. I was eating about 200 grams of protein per day, spread out over those meals. So I'd eat 40 to 50 grams of protein per meal, and then I'd have 15 to 20 grams of fat per meal as well. So I just kept the fat, in the form of, nuts, avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, whole eggs, things like that, with the protein, because I found that it helped me not have as much brain fog. And then I would add the vegetables in on top of that, but I'd always start my meals in that order: protein, fat, and then vegetables. And then if I was really hungry still, then I would actually have my carbohydrates as well. But I never start with the carbs because that would spike the insulin and stuff like that, and then I'd be a basket case, crashing out there. But if I was burning the fat, then it'd be fine. So I found that I could go about a week at a time, even with all the activity that I was doing, and I was, because in addition to doing the 13 miles a day with all the heavy lifting and stuff like that, I was determined to still keep up my bodybuilding goals and everything, so I'd still go to the gym 4 days a week, even though it seemed like completely ridiculous on the amount of calories that I was getting. And I would train 4 days a week. So my methodology, I could typically go about, as I was saying, I could typically go about a week before I needed to add some starchy carbs. So whether it was banana, oatmeal, rice, potatoes, beans, things like that, and I would add just the amount that was in my diet before I started this new dietary program. So back in that 40, 30, 30 split again with the carbs. And what I found was that not only, initially I dropped 20 pounds, so I went from my 185 down to 165, but after that, over the course of the months and stuff, by the end of the year, I was up to 210 pounds, and with no increase in a decrease in my body fat percentage. My energy was through the roof, feeling great, very mentally clear, and stuff like that. And so I stuck with this for many, many, many years, and was able to maintain my strength and size and stuff like that by doing this. Now, I learned later some of the reasons why some of this might have been, and then granted I was in that almost the calorie surplus before, that 3,000 calories per day. And then when I started doing this massive amount of stuff, I was basically just fluctuating between really low carbs and protein, and then adding the carbs back in, and going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like that. But that's how I was able to do it. So my workout program was a bodybuilding style split that I designed myself. So I would work out legs, on the first day. I'd work chest and shoulders on the next day. I'd work my back on the third day, and then on the last day I'd work arms and maybe throw a little bit of cardio in at the end, but I didn't really need to do any cardio because of all the activity I was doing at my job. So that was just if I felt like it, had extra energy or something like that, and I just was feeling like doing it, but not because I felt like I needed to do it or anything. And that worked really good for me. So not only, and when I would add the carbs back in, because my body was so sensitive, I would bump the muscle up a little bit more. And then I'd go back down and get depleted, and the muscles would use up all the glycogen, and then I'd bump it up just enough to get the carbs going again. So if that, definitely not a complicated plan. It's very simple, but I just share this with you guys to say that you don't have to have the perfect plan. You don't have to have all these supplements and things like that. Yes, when I stopped doing that stuff, my strength gains, went way up. So I would typically only deadlift. I would deadlift 3 to 4 sets, 12 reps with 185 pounds. So was not very heavy or anything like that, but I would do this on less than 1,000 calories a day after doing 13 miles of walking around pushing heavy stuff like that. So when I stopped doing this stuff, actually around the time I got started up doing my business, I had got a different job working in a nursing home, so the level of activity was much lower. I went rapidly in the period of a few months to a PR of a deadlift of 360 pounds for 7 reps. And I could have kept on going, but I felt a slight twinge in my back, so I decided to just keep it off of there. I did a little bit lower one too with 300 pounds for 12 consecutive reps. So obviously it is better to have ideal training situation, but you can still make gains and you can still make progress training in less than ideal circumstances. So don't wait until you're in the ideal circumstances to start pursuing your goals. Start moving with what you have, start moving from where you're at with what you have to work with, and eventually, and keep on researching, keep on learning from other people, and moving yourself in the direction you want to go. Because eventually, all that hard work is going to pay off. All the time of trying to figure out things and working under less than ideal circumstances, when you do get in the ideal circumstances, your gains are going to be exponential. Actually, from time to time, I do like to go old school like I used to and go in that depletion phase and do those things so that I can, it actually, I feel, primes my body to be more receptive to the nutrients I put into it so that I can gain muscle on even less calories while still staying lean. So I didn't take a lot of pictures of myself during that time. I was mainly focused on just surviving at the time and stuff, so I had a lot of other things on my mind. But I did take a few pictures. The picture quality is pretty poor, but I'm going to include them at the end of this video so you can kind of see what gains I was able to achieve on the protocol that I was using. And I hope this video helped you out in your own endeavors. Not that you need to go to the extreme levels that I went to, but be innovative. Think outside the box. Don't think that you have to do exactly what the scientific protocol is, because maybe you don't have the circumstances to be able to adopt that. Maybe you don't have the resources to be able to adopt that. Work with what you have and gradually work on increasing your resources, increasing your knowledge, and to get where you want to go. But number one, always begin with training. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. We'll see you all next time for more health and fitness related information. If you liked the video, be sure to give me a thumbs up down there in the description box if you'd like to see more information related to health, fitness, and strength. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks guys.